I saw this Tumblr post and I was like, hey, I should make art of that. And it all went downhill from there. You ever start an art piece and the more you work on it, the more you're like, wow, this is not turning out the way I expected it. Yeah, me too. Now, optimism only strengthens my stubbornness, so I always figure, hey, maybe I can fix this. And in this case, I kinda did, and I kinda did not. The good thing about mistakes, though, is that you can learn from them. And I'm not one to waste resources, so when I create a big old mistake that's a monument to everything I don't like about my art, I grab my notepad because that means there's lots of lessons to be learned here. Quick disclaimer, if it's not already obvious, I'm very much an amateur artist. I only started seriously trying to improve my art back when we all got quarantined, and this is only my second YouTube video ever on this channel, so take my advice with a grain of salt. But, sometimes beginners can explain things a little better than pros because it's all so new and weird and we're experiencing it for the first time rather than looking back on rookie mistakes after years and years of honing the craft. So sometimes what's obvious to pros isn't so obvious to newbies like myself. Also, I do not think this drawing that is on the screen right now is terrible, and there's actually a couple things I kind of like about it. So please don't think that I think all art that looks like this is awful. Art is a learning process and there's good and bad things about everything. But let's jump into what happens, what you can do when your art goes wrong, okay? So what went wrong with this drawing? Off the bat, there's the composition issues. Everything's crowded, there's a couple tangents where lines are touching each other. Beetlejuice's hat, the main focus, the main image, if you're not familiar with the character here, his hat is kind of touching the snake up there, which is a little weird. There's some anatomy issues, including his sleeve is kind of floating. Perspective issues with the chair, the wall, and the table kind of looking like they're all at wonky angles. And something that really keeps bothering me the more I look at it is that I can't tell how big the room they're in is. It looks kind of huge because the people in the back, the Maitlands, are so small compared to the people in the foreground. I feel like they could be a lot, if they were bigger, they'd look closer, and it's just kind of hard to tell where everything is. There's also the issue of shapes. I have a lot of difficulty figuring out organic shapes versus iconic shapes, which is a term that makes me sound smart. I only learned it 2 days ago, so believe me, I'm not very well versed in it yet. I learned this from, I don't know how to say his name, I'm sorry, Mitch Leeuwe, Leeuwe. I'll flash his social stuff up on the screen. I learned this from his Instagram. Basically, an organic shape is something that looks more like real life. An iconic shape is built more around basic shapes. And I'll talk about that more later because it comes into play with color, which I also struggle with. I don't know if I'm trying to draw things to look realistic or if I'm trying to make them look more cartoony, and that's affecting my general composition of the entire piece. And finally, there's style consistency. Style's a weird word, it's a weird thing. No one really seems to completely understand it, but at least within an art piece, it's nice to have a consistent style in that piece alone. And I kind of feel like here, Lydia, the Maitlands, and BJ, Beetlejuice, they all kind of look like they're drawn in different styles. Like Lydia looks a little more anime, the Maitlands are very cartoony, and Beetlejuice is almost the more realistic of the four of them, which is odd if you know the source material, since he's the otherworldly demon and they're the humans. So moving on to the second problem that I see with this, the concept of the whole picture is one I didn't really like. So I started it to kind of be reminiscent of that Tumblr post, which I put up at the beginning of the video, which I like that part of it. But then I added Lydia and the Maitlands, and if you look at the little hedgehog picture, there's only one hedgehog, there's not anyone else in the picture. And what happens here that started to make me uncomfortable the more I drew it is that every picture tells a story, and the story that this picture is communicating, or that I had in my head when I was drawing, isn't really one that I like. So, spoilers for the end of the musical version of Beetlejuice here. Kind of count down from 3, okay? 3, 2, 1. Okay, it's spoiler time. So at the end of the musical, Beetlejuice, after shenanigans, leaves the Maitlands and Lydia after almost murdering them, but kind of making up with them. And they part on somewhat good terms. And a lot of the fandom, including myself, hopes that he will come back someday. And the way I drew this picture, with the banner that Beetlejuice obviously made for himself, being a notoriously bad speller in canon, and just everyone looking scared or angry that he has returned, is not how I would want that return to be. You know, the Maitlands look scared, Lydia looks, for part of this speed paint, she looks kind of pissed off. And I later changed it, I made her smiling instead of frowning because I wanted the general mood to not be entirely negative. But it's pretty clear that Beetlejuice has invited himself back into their space rather than them inviting him, or it being a happy reunion. And I just don't like that. And that's something I should have realized when I was sketching, that when I was like composing this picture at the beginning, I should have been like, no, I don't like this. I'm going to just focus on Beetlejuice. And I should have realized that. I started to feel uncomfortable with it early on in the sketching process, and I just ignored it because I thought, like, this is gonna be fine. This is gonna be a quick picture. I thought it was gonna be a quick picture, and it wasn't, which is another thing I'll get to. But to really avoid that in the future, I'm gonna need to pay a lot more attention when I'm sketching to make sure I like the composition and I like the story that the picture is communicating before I move on to all this stuff like line art and color, because once you get into that, you're kind of locked into what you wrote before. So remember, I just said how this was meant to be a short picture, like a quick sketch, and then it took hours. I have a very poor concept of how long my art takes to create. And this affected my computer as well as me. I ran into lag issues with how many layers I had stacked up, and it was honestly kind of a nightmare. So I need to be more intentional about, okay, I need to really tie myself down to, I'm not going to spend more than this much time on this sketch, or I know this is going to be a big project and I'm going to spend time on this. I just need to, that just comes with experience. I think I'll learn how long it takes to do things. All right, the biggest thing that I don't like about this picture that I think I can fix in later pictures is color and depth. I really don't like how thick the line work is, which makes the picture feel flat to me. Color is kind of off. I don't know what I'm doing. This is where organic and iconic shapes come back into play again, because iconic designs tend to have these flat colors and very visible line art. And this is very obvious in 2D cartoons, which is where iconic designs are most common, like Steven Universe and Gravity Falls. And it's great, it's fine. But then when it comes to like organic design, the shading tends to be more intense. The colors are a little more, color and shading is more dynamic altogether. And this starts to look generally more 3D, like Disney films and that sort of thing. And both are great and good, but it's really hard to mix them. I don't know if you can. I'm sure somebody has, but I, as a beginner, certainly don't know how to do that. When you try to mix iconic and organic designs without really having the experience, everything just kind of looks wonky. It gets this weird, like, plastically half 3D, partially rendered effect. That's something to work on next time for me. Trying to really sort out what's iconic and what's organic and which one I'm going with, which again, I could decide in the sketching phase, and that could really help me out. And I really wanted to do more light and shade, and I actually did have a whole shade layer that I ended up deleting because it just was very muddy and weird and kind of gross, and so I took it out. Like, not gross in a good way, like an artistic way, like just hard to see. One thing I'm really planning to work on, and I'm already working on actually as I recorded this, well, not as I recorded this. Something I've already been working on is light and shadow, because I know that's something I want to improve on. Alright, so my final verdict for this piece, this is not a horrible picture, okay? It's not even a bad picture. It's just, I don't think it's a very good picture. And the thing is, when it comes to like everything in life, especially art, there's kind of this scale from god-awful to like, wow, that's amazing. And both of those extremes are like interesting and noticeable, and I think they're very fun. I'll sometimes, you know how it's really fun to watch a really bad movie? Like, that's fun. And it's also really fun to watch a really amazing movie. And then there's just kind of this big middle gray swamp area of in-between. And that's kind of, I think, the bane of all artists, is not wanting to fall in that in-between area. But like, it's really hard to get out of it, because that's probably like 99% of everything that's out there. So, I think this picture is in that middle ground of like just okay, and it's kind of on the lower end of like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but that is fine. And even though I basically just said, everything that's not brilliant or awful is kind of in this doomed to live in this soul-sucking swamp of mediocrity forever, that's not really what I'm saying, okay? So hear me out, hold on. I'm confusing myself. I do this a lot. So everything I just said was wrong with this picture. Like, literally everything I just said is something that I can search up on YouTube or Skillshare or wherever and learn to do better, right? I can learn color theory. I was learning that today. I can learn design. I can learn light and shadow and depth and all of that. And everything that I'm not good at now, I can practice at and get better at. And by going through this picture and really breaking it down, I can figure out what exactly I do need to work on. The only thing that's actually terrible about this picture is what it almost did to me. So I finished this piece, I looked at it, and I went, that's awful. And I closed my drawing program, and I almost walked away and just stopped there. Okay, look, listen to this. All fellow aspiring artists, you can never stop there, okay? Don't ever stop there. Whenever you fail at anything, don't just stop and say to yourself, well, I'm just not good at it, so I'm not going to do it anymore. Okay, so when you mess up, analyze the mistakes you made, write it down, try to figure out how to do it better, what exactly you did do wrong, and then kind of do your best to do it better next time. So when I came back to this picture, I'm put all the footage into a speed paint. I was really frustrated because I felt like I wasted all this time on it and I'd used up computer space, but I watched it back and I'm like, all right, let's make a list of everything that didn't work. What happened here? How did this happen? And how can I make sure this doesn't happen again? You know, slowly. It's not going to get perfect overnight, but, you know, just kind of building off each thing that I improve bit by bit by bit. And there are things that I like about this picture. I like the balloons in the back. They kind of are very satisfying to me. I really like Beetlejuice's beard, which is great because beards are kind of the bane of my existence currently. I'm really glad that I made this video. I hope it can help someone else and inspire you if you're struggling, if you feel like your art pieces keep going wrong, to maybe break them down and figuring out what exactly you are struggling with. But anyway, I know it will help me a lot because just doing this has been a fantastic exercise for my own improvement. So yeah, thank you so much for sticking with me this far. If you'd like to see the finished picture side by side with its Tumblr source, hop on over to my Instagram and check that out. I am trying really hard to post every couple days at least so that I can push myself to create more and so that I can always be improving. And I'm always looking for more inspiring artists to follow, so if you post a lot of really cool art, I'll likely follow you back and I would love to see you over there, so that would be fun. So my question of the day is, what mistakes have you made in your last drawings or paintings, and what can you study to improve your next piece of art? So what sort of resources are you going to use to reach that goal? Like YouTube, drawing tutorials, what is your favorite? What's your go-to method for helping yourself improve? Anyway, thank you for watching. My goal is to upload a new speed paint to this channel every Monday, so hopefully I will see you then. But in the meantime, stay cool, creatives, and I will see you in the comments. Goodbye.